Put your morals over money.
We will uphold against anyone that stands against us.
The coronavirus mutates more than flu viruses. You have to get the exact mutation, so it'll be a yearly injection, of course. Oh, and all the social distancing. You haven't had your yearly or monthly shot. Well, and you criticize it anyway. You're not allowed to travel. You're not allowed to live. I remember 6-7 months ago when all this started and the UN said life will never go back to normal. You'll never shake hands anymore. You'll have to wear a mask everywhere you go. You'll have to get monthly inoculations. COVID-19 is so incredibly deadly. It'll be 2 years till you get it. And of course, we knew they were just trying to make us beg for it. And then, oh, it got made quicker than they thought. It'll be here by November. Oh, but it's not going to actually work. You've got to take lots of them. And now, like I told you a year ago, the vaccines won't protect you. Now they're saying, oh, magically they don't protect you. But a few months, you need new shots every few months. And
they got a new one coming out now.
Upgrade and put the UN in charge and massively build giant vaccine production so much that you can be vaccinating 7.5 billion people once a month with new things, where you've got to have this new shot every month to be authorized to leave your house.
We told you what was going to happen, and it did. Now we're telling you what's coming. Band.video.
Or the Truth Trumpet. All right, everybody. As you can see, we had a little opener there. Just a little information. As we all knew, this was a plan, a narrative, Agenda 2030. And the new rollout is happening this month. So they have the vaccine they'll be unveiling in the next few days. Canada and America. I'd imagine all Western countries. It all depends on how they ramp up production. And our Dr. Tam has told us not to worry. There's one available for everyone. 6 months. 6 months old. They want us to have our babies injected. I mean, they want our babies injected with a lot of poisons, but now they want to put this still experimental candy. I'm on certain platforms here, so I might have to slightly be careful of the wordage, the verbiage that I use. I don't worry that much because I got 2 strikes already with the one platform, so I'll be out pretty soon there. And who knows with the others, but with Rumble, it's a free speech platform. It has been, and it seems to be on that trajectory still. So you can always find us at the Truth Trumpet on Rumble. Here on Facebook, Twitter, they're all the same handle at the Truth Trumpet. So today's topic was going to be a quicker episode today. I wanted to go live because we're going to have a special guest coming on shortly. As soon as they get to a location where they can hop on and explain in their words on the events that took place last night in London, Ontario, with this guy right here. I don't know if you can see him. Mr. Trudeau, captain of our ship currently, steering right to shore. He was at the he was at a hotel. I can't remember the name of the hotel in London last night. There was a rally of support of Canada or a protest against Trudeau, however we'd like to look at it. And why don't we play a clip here now of what happened yesterday? So you guys, if you haven't seen it yet on Druthers, you can see a clip right now. Here, let's take a look at what went on. Oh, sorry, that'll take 1 second here. Let me remove that. We're doing all this on the fly myself here. No Beth, my producer, is not here, so it's just myself. So bear with me, and we will load it up right now.
Huh? You don't have an opinion because you don't want to speak the truth. You don't want to speak the truth.
That's exactly what that means.
You know what my best friend does? He works at for Vaughan and St. Thomas. You know what the virologist told him? That COVID is real and COVID is killing people. He told me to join a cult. We have something going on over here, folks.
I see more and more of those flags.
There's something's happening.
Let it go! Let it go! Fuck you! Fuck you!
Use the profanities if it offends you, but
I'm not sure what happened, but this is someone is getting arrested right now. Step over here for me. Step over here for me. Yeah, we have to. We're interfering. We're not interfering. We're not interfering. We're not interfering.
now you see, I'm just pausing it for a sec. This is a tactic that they use, the police, the authorities, all instructed ahead of time. They only want the controlled narrative. So if CBC is there, City TV, the regular AM 800 here, I don't know what it would be in London, but they would want the mainstream folks in the media to be there to cover, and they would be allowed access to all angles. And then, of course, it would be edited for the mainstream media to disseminate the information utilizing the video footage they've edited to feed the narrative that they have. Violent protesters, perhaps. That's not what we saw here. As usual, it's just people with an opinion. Maybe their voice gets a little loud. Maybe their eyebrows lower a little bit. As far as I know, and this is one thing I do know about, it's not against the law. But all they have to do is gaslight, as you can see here. They're pushing Grant and Phil, the cameraman, pushing them back and telling them they're going to arrest them because they're interfering. And they're clearly a media production. He's got heavy camera equipment that Phil's lugging around, headsets, earbuds, and a big, I don't know what they're called. Not a purse, but a media purse carrying all the equipment. It's clear to see Grant has a microphone with the Druthers label on it. So they're media. They're just not the chosen media that the authorities have been permitted to allow in the scene. Let's continue.
Hey, we are not interfering. Please take your hand off me. We are not. Please do not touch me. Please do not touch me. You're interfering. I'm telling you to do. Okay, fair enough.
The officer says, "Stop telling me what to do."
You arrested us all tonight, man. This guy's a fucking. This guy thinks he's tough.
Yeah, you do.
Yes, you do.
You're a public servant. No, I'm not.
Fucking pussy. You're a pussy, bro. Okay, we have someone else. This is what's happening. This is a scene in London, Ontario, folks. Justin Trudeau is inside the DoubleTree Hilton right now. People are being arrested.
Going behind the car, and this gentleman going.
Look at that! They slammed them. They slammed them against that car. This is freedom of the press. We are allowed to be here. Freedom of the press.
Freedom of the press. Freedom of the press.
So another freedom fighter here is being taken away. He's been put in custody.
Well, so there you have it. There's a lot more. If you want to see the full video, you can view it at Grant Pace's Facebook page or Druthers News. Go to their site or their page on Facebook, and they'll have the clip up for you to watch. I believe it's about an hour to an hour and 20 or 30 minutes long. It's beginning of the protest to till the end. But this is typical of what we've seen all over the province, at least I would imagine all over the country, some provinces worse than others, where there's always arrests, and that's what the mainstream banks on. They bank on putting that out there in their media. I haven't looked today. I'm not sure what it says on CBC and all the mainstream platforms, but I bet the narrative is down the pipeline of violent protesters can't control themselves and are violent with policemen and women of color. Something along that line to disparage the protesters and elevate the morality somehow of the authorities involved. I don't hold anything against the protesters. I'm one of you. However, the only thing I can say is you have to be you. You have to do you, and you have to be true to yourself. The same advice goes for me. So when I look at how I was a few years ago, angrier, more eyebrows down, yelling, more profanities. That's how I felt. That's how I still feel somewhat inside. But my perspective has changed over the last few years. And I can thank the big guy above for guiding me in that way. So optics wise, I don't want to be angry. Number one, I want to absorb the anger that's given to me and bounce that back. Well, looks like we have our guest in studio. So Grant Pace is here. Let me welcome him, and he can describe what went on last night. Let me let him in here. Grant, welcome. Can you see us? Are you here with us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Perfect.
Thank you for being here on the Truth Trumpet. Everybody, this is Grant Pace from Druthers News. He was in London last night. He travels a lot around covering stories and getting information out. Grant, why don't you give yourself a quick introduction and get right into it? Explain what happened yesterday.
Sure. Well, my name's Grant Pace. I go around for Druthers News and Information, and I cover a lot of the stories, local stories from anywhere from Toronto to up to Windsor area. So we were in London last night, and we had a guest come by to the local Hilton, and that was Justin Trudeau. So he was met by a bunch of warm, patriotic Canadians, and unfortunately, we had a few arrests that were made. It was the thing is it's peaceful protesting. No one did anything wrong. Steve, did you get a chance to check out that clip that I told you about?
Yes, just before you came on, I played the clip for everybody for minute
So people got to see
16
it?
up until after the third arrest, and they were making you and Phil kind of move back to the other side of the road again.
Yes, that's see, what happened was that street, it was completely shut down. They closed it, and they barricaded it up, so there was no traffic coming down whatsoever. The police said that we had to move back off of the street for our safety. Now, there's no cars coming around. It was not for our safety whatsoever. It was, I believe, it was just an intimidation tactic that was used. Just want to push their weight around and whatnot. And so they got into a scuffle. One of the protesters, he refused, from my knowledge, to back down and to get off the street. He said, these are taxpayer streets. We pay for these streets. You shut them down. There's no safe. I'm safe where I'm standing. You guys are standing on the street. Why can't I stand on the street too? Anyways, they got into a bit of a yelling match, and I believe that the police, two police officers, took him to the ground. I wasn't in that area at the time. I ran over, and what I witnessed personally was he was being hit. They had him down. Two police officers on top of him, and they were trying to get his arms or whatnot, but I do recall elbows, and I do recall knees being thrown at this guy. So,
Do you
Then there was the second. Sorry.
do you know what floor Trudeau is on? Was there any windows being open looking
Well, you
out?
know
Or-
what? There was a lot of people. We made a lot of noise there, Steve. So we seen a lot of faces at a lot of windows that night. What's going on? People were recording stuff, and they're recording us, right? So we've seen a lot of faces, but we don't know. What we do know is that they moved his location. So he was supposed to stay at the Hilton, and it was moved after all the protests and everything else showed up. So um, we did see his caravan later on that night. They were driving. I think they were just driving around the streets, waiting for things to cool off, and then they were going to find another hotel somewhere else. So
Hmm. There's a decent amount of selections, I'd imagine, in downtown London for them to choose from.
oh, I would assume so, especially when price isn't an object, right? You got the taxpayers paying for it. So
Yeah, that seems to be a regular thing. I wasn't aware that he came back from India yet. I hadn't checked that early this morning or last night. I thought he was still stuck there. I know they offered a plane, and I guess he turned it down. But looks like they fixed it, or
well, from what I hear, they didn't even want him in India, did they?
no, no. Most countries don't really want him. Other than maybe the UN, I don't know. I don't know who really wants him
Yeah, I was
around.
told everybody else, all the other speakers got like an hour or something, and they only allowed him like 10 minutes, and then they get out of here, buddy.
That's
So
I was thinking about this yesterday. Not very long, but you have to be. I mean, I view him as a weak little man. But there must be, there's that evil, Dr. Evil type of strength that can only be born through uh, being in being birthed into wealth and whatever corruption that he's witnessed from such a young age. But if I were to imagine, and I don't know, but I'm assuming that he doesn't have really anybody personal in his life that loves him. I mean, his wife left him. He takes photos with his kids, and I'm sure, I'm positive on a level that his children, if they are his children, love him, right?
mm,
Because they're his kids, and you can your kids will love you just like you'll love your kids, through a lot of things. But besides that, what a lonely island it must be, unless there's like, who must be stroking him that gives him the ego he has, that allows him to get out of bed still, because even his wife left him, which was years ago, but publicly, I think that's what matters more to him.
yeah, there's
The
lots of
shame.
rumors about that, about his wife leaving him. Like just like Bill, was it done for tax right purposes or tax write off purposes? Like, is it real? Did they really split up? I don't know. That's one of the many conspiracies floating around in the area, right? So in the conspiracy
Oh,
realm, have you
oh,
heard about that one?
absolutely. Were they really together ever for the right reasons?
Exactly. Exactly. Just like we're like Obama and his kids, were they really his kids? I mean, was Michelle really a man?
No, well, was or is.
Is.
That's the thing, when definitions are just swept out, it's like we're floating. We're floating on everything. We have no foundation left to stand on because
That's right.
everything has been eroded. It feels like, in our country and in our, almost in our, not our personal thought processes, but societally.
Well, one of the main issues yesterday was people can't afford to make ends meet in Canada. People are having a hard time. They're all struggling, it seems, and they blame Trudeau.
Mhm.
I mean, they're being taxed.
Well, that's what one of the things, there's so many, you can pick a million different talking points, but I wish, and I'm sure you wish, and everybody wishes, they could get through at least in one point, or get an answer from a leftist person who usually engages in conversation. They usually feel the authoritativeness, or they think they have the intelligence to engage with a mic drop sentence and be done with it. But when you retort, like when you say, look, yeah, there is a recession or a depression or inflation off the hinges, and we're all feeling it. Doesn't matter what side of the spectrum. Even if you make a lot of money, you're spending more money on a lot of
That's
these
right.
items. And you can say to anyone, but you're okay with us sending billions to Ukraine instead of taking half of it. Send half of it to Ukraine, take half away and keep it for your leftist cause here in the country. And you can't even get that point out, where the minute you say, to hold a little back, take a little away, they go, oh, you're one of those racists, or you're one of those, boom, and they don't have the conversation. But how does someone who's complaining about these very things not see the irony that we could have a surplus of everything instead of a depletion of everything? It's almost like we're tearing down society, it feels like, intentionally, brick by brick.
Well, that seems like it's the plan. Let's tear this down. Let's and so we can rebuild.
What do you think's going to
They
happen?
want to restructure the society. They want. Sorry.
What do you think's going to happen? We got the Agenda 2030, the UN's agenda, right? Which we know the UN, the WHO, all these top-down organizations that our Western countries are following in lockstep.
Mm-hmm.
What do you like? We know 2030 is their projection of completion, I would imagine, at least completion of to start the beginning.
It's the big picture. I don't believe the big picture is going to be all said and done until around 2050, but they want to have everything pretty much set rolling by 2030. So that's what I hear.
That's what I hear too. I hear they're one more year behind. Which,
and they're always changing the way things roll out. These plans that they have aren't set in stones. If something catches wind, maybe they might change it. I don't believe anything that the agenda is set in stone, but the way that they're going to accomplish it's up. It's a free for all, I believe. So
it's like we talked about before.
It's
a
multi-headed
change front that they're hitting us from on every angle.
That's right.
So going back to yesterday with Trudeau and the protesting event, it's kind of a common theme we see at protests now, where I was explaining before you came on that the authorities have memos or, their orders that they're given, all the instructions, like, we're closing the street, but we, utilize any measure you can in order to get an arrest or demonize this side, however it's worded. I don't know how it's worded,
Yes,
but it's the same kind of gameplay that I see each time, the kettling to an area, and then like they were doing with you and Phil, kind of pushing you out of the way, threatening arrest.
Yes, they were looking to arrest somebody last night, I believe. The police were the ones who initiated that. The person was, to all of my knowledge, he was just standing on the road. The police kept on coming closer and closer, pushing everybody off onto the sidewalk, even though the road was closed down completely. The one person who did not want to comply, he put up a bit of a stink, and then he was taken down. Once on the ground, like I said, I ran over and I seen some fists and some elbows, some knees being thrown in order to make it, get him in the position that they wanted. I believe they weren't intentionally trying. I don't want to believe that they were intentionally trying to hurt him, but they were trying to maneuver him in such a way. So they were throwing knees, they were throwing elbows. His girlfriend seen this. She ran in to pick up his cell phone. They grabbed her. They threw her to the ground. Another gentleman seen what they did to her, so he ran in to say, "What are you doing? She's a female." They grabbed him as well, threw him up against a police van, and the camera footage really didn't do it justice. When I was right there, I heard how the sound of him hitting the damn van.
That seems to be kind of the common overlay, and like I talked about in a podcast I did last night that I shared, it's that same brick by brick kind of tear down of society that's happening, I think, internally in society and people in society. So police used to, at least on a percentile, used to be a higher percentage of protect and serve and a lower percentile of enforcement, where that would be the byproduct of not not de-escalating a situation. Where now it is more execute the arrests and get people, well, make more criminals, as opposed to de-escalation and protecting and serving the public. That used to be
That's
one of the
right.
main tactics. Even as a child, I used to see is de-escalation, because police, like teachers, like nurses and doctors, they viewed each other, all of us, like humans. We had this level of humanity that we gave, a certain level of respect that we didn't want to deplete lower than, unless we really, really had to. And now, at least for certain people, that goes out the window. It's again, it's akin, in my mind, from the stories that my grandfather told me, it's akin to Nazi Germany, to where people like me, people on our side of the fence get labeled. And ironically, we're all different shapes, colors, and ethnicities, but we get labeled in this way, which gives justification for whoever is in control or in power on the other side to just manhandle, might not be the right word, but to just take that level of humanity out. Instead of it used to be like, it's literally policy, when a officer places their hand on you, right, that would mean something, right? That is, you're detained, right? You have to know that. And they used to teach that in civics class, so everyone knew that sort of thing. I mean, even before I was a kid, we didn't learn that. I had to go out and learn that. But that would have been enough, at least for a regular person to know, okay, I better, step back. And the officer also knew, like, I don't want to go there. They would be much more fragile, and things would go down a lot smoother, and there would be less charges, which means someone wouldn't spend more time in jail, which, if they have a family, they're with their family, they're earning money. All these bribe products that happen now because some certain people are viewed as not human and get treated as such. And it's
Exactly.
what
And
I
it only,
witnessed last night.
yeah, and it only takes one hothead cop or one hothead person from the freedom movement to start saying and mouthing off. And from what I heard, there's a couple police officers there that were just looking to get into a scuffle and bring somebody in. They used some profanity to some ladies that it's just uncalled for stuff. Like, you're supposed to be a police officer. You're in a professional position. Um, you try and de-escalate the situation. You don't try and make things worse. And what I was told, anyways, is there was a few officers there who were instigating and trying to add fuel to the fire, as you would say. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I know, right before you hopped on, I was giving my opinion, kind of where I've come from a few years ago, sharing my opinion with the bullhorn, and how, it correlated with some of the freedom people at every protest. But last night, we have a lot of the F Trudeau flags, which I love. We have a lot of people as well on our side using profanities, and I have as well. So I'm not. I want to make it clear, I'm not disparaging people who do that, but I'm trying to make a point of, is there a time where we need to be, even though we shouldn't have to be, but we need to be a little smarter optics wise, and somehow find the peace and serenity within our soul and tamper that anger, but still send the message out that way, and things will go down regardless, because they have their orders regardless of what we do or say. So if someone does get arrested, or the officers do use the profanity, that can be the only edited clip that gets used, not
Our
us,
side doing it as well. Exactly.
Yeah. What do you think about that? Am I off base?
I think you're absolutely right. I mean, in a perfect world, that would be great. But we have so many pissed off Canadians, I guess you would say. They're mad, and we have freedom of expression here in Canada, and who am I to say you can't use those words or anything else? You express your way any way you want. I may not agree with it, but I'm not gonna tell somebody how they may or may want to conduct themselves. So,
Absolutely.
but like you said, optics wise, it doesn't look the best, bro. No, it doesn't. People should be able to, just hold it in a little bit. Anybody can get out there and swearing and toss cuss words around and everything else. But when you have something really educated to say, you speak to them like that. Like I said, profanity is easy. So.
Well, exactly. And maybe one of the things, one of the examples I can say to anybody that cares, just like we were taught when we were kids that anything worth having or anything worth doing, might be difficult, might take some elbow grease, but if the payoff is worth it. And everyone in the freedom movement knows for a fact, if they didn't take any of the jabs, or if they chose to stop taking the jabs, they know they had to activate something. They had to really work through something in their head, because the world was against that choice. So it's a hard choice you made, but you did it, and you've been fighting it, right? You didn't make the easy choice and go, oh, I got to travel, or, oh, I need this job, or whatever you want to place into that bracket. You didn't take that easy way. This,
No.
Even though it's not something injected into you, I would attribute it to the same kind of mental fortitude to be able to strengthen yourself. And even though you should be able to yell and swear, and again, I'm not saying not to, but the same type of strength to find more, I'm not going to even say positive words, but different words
Restructure the words, restructure them. Like, put some thought before you, before you just yell something out, I guess.
Right. And that's taking, the high road. It's not just the high road, but it's you are creating the optics the way you want that way. And you're also taking the harder choice, making the hard decision in order to do the right thing. Just 100%. Like you did with Sean.
And there's many. I was looking at yesterday, and it was viewed all over the world. So, I mean, is this the sort of perception that we want to be giving to people? Like, I don't know, maybe over in New Zealand. I mean, New Zealand popped up. I saw that they were watching from New Zealand. Like, oh, perfect. But do we? Is that the picture that we want to portray, or to portray to them, that we're a bunch of I don't know, beer guzzling, swearing Canadians? I don't know. I think we can do better than that.
Another good point. So. I didn't think about that. I don't know I don't think I have that reach yet. That's awesome that there are people from all over the world contacting you guys while you're live. That's great. And that's a testament to exactly what you're saying, that we like when we did the convoy, we're setting an example for the rest of the world potentially. And is that the example that we want to set? We're not going to, no one's going to win a war, a soft war, a hard war, any type of war by using profanity, right?
No.
We have to be smarter on all levels. And we have to show all these other countries that are watching, because they're afraid. They don't know what to do. They have the same issues that are the globalists that are creeping down their neck and tightening their budget and putting them out of house and home as well.
100%. I mean, like Trudeau he came to London. He was going to give us 47. I believe it was $47 million to low income housing. So he was going to put that into it. But that low income housing, who was it going to go for? We're going to bring in new immigrants or whatnot, and for votes. He's always thinking there's always another reason for what he's doing. I mean, does he really care about Canadians? I don't think he does that whatsoever. This man is all for himself as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely. So moving forward here, before we part ways and do our thing for the evening, in a few days on the 20th, I'm sure you've heard, there'll be the 1 million children march.
Yes.
On September 20th. What is there anything you'd like to say about that? Is there anything going on
You know,
with
we have
Druthers?
to protect these children. I mean, I believe I'm going to be either in Toronto or Ottawa on that day. So there's some big things happening in Ottawa that I was asked to come down and to film. Also in Toronto, though, we might even have a convoy going from Toronto to Ottawa. So everything is still up in the air as far as I know. Um, but I think this is something very important. We have to, defend the children. It's so important. The things that they're being taught in school, it's wrong on so many levels, and you know, we have to bring it back. We have to take back control of what these youngsters are being taught. So
Well, absolutely, and there's it all has to be through diplomacy, which is really difficult, especially when it comes, with the children.
it's very
And
difficult.
it is. And these, we talked about it last night, and I'm sure you've talked about it. And Druthers has written up articles about this. But Stephen Lecce from the Conservative Party, the Ontario Conservative Party, the Progressive Conservatives, he spoke again, like they do, spoke wonderful words, right, about how the parents must be informed and must be part of the equation. And he said it well, like any of us would say it, like it's obvious, of course. But it's not. It was what used to be policy, but that's been changed, which he knows. And it's not that way. Words only mean one thing. And in the meantime, school's already started and the policy is still the same. Every single day counts. Every single day matters that these policies are in place. And as I stated, even when the policies get reversed, and I think they will, it's just a matter of how long until they get reversed. But when they get reversed, those activist teachers are still going to be there. And just like we, from our position, want to make sure we affect change to protect the children, they, in their weird way, right, they believe by making sure kids have all information. Ironic, we're being censored, but they want to give them everything up front as an innocent child and present them with everything that's going on in the world, meaning the things they're doing. And that's happening minute by minute while they're in class. So that's why this event on the 20th is so important. So parents that didn't want or couldn't pull their children, couldn't put them in private school for the many reasons that exist today, can't afford it, the ever rising cost. You don't know that other private school might be just as bad in the area. On the 20th, you can take your child out of school and send a message, because there will be many children being pulled by parents that day. And you need to take your child legally, because you're the parent, you're the guardian, you're in control. Take your child out of school that day. Whether you can come in your city or town to one of these events, if you do, bring your children. This is an actual family-friendly event. There'll be no drag queens dancing, right? There'll be no one in pasties doing provocative things where you pin the tail on the get who knows what. It'll be face painting and, fun little children things for kids to do, along with a march, of course. So anything else you'd like to add about the march that's going on in Ottawa, or where you'll be?
Well, people, I implore you to just get out there. It's very important. These little kids, they're youngsters, and they can't stand up for themselves. They don't even know what's going on here. They were relying on you parents to do what's right and to make a call, to make a judgment call to this is the line, and I'm not gonna, if you cross this is what's going to happen. We're going to pull our kids out of school. They have crossed that line many, many times now with some of the books and everything else that they have put into the schools. I mean, we have to do something about it. We have to make a stand. Parents, please do what's right. Be on the right side of history, folks.
And if you think it won't do anything, trust me, when people come out, just like in Ottawa and other places, large gatherings, the media has to cover it, and they can't avoid it because too many people have driven by, have seen it. So they'll still try to spin it in their narrative. But no matter where they pan the camera, if there's a mass of people, it shows the audience, regardless of what they say, that there are many parents, loving parents, who just want the best for their children. And sorry, they have a different opinion than other parents, and that's allowed. You can have a different opinion, but what matters is the sanctity of the children's innocence. And parents will never stop screaming at the top of their lungs to protect their children. I know as a parent, there's nothing that I wouldn't do. And I can say it with a smile, but trust me when I say there's nothing I wouldn't do to make sure that my child was protected and safe through me. And most parents out there would feel the same way.
We might see the media try and spin this. You know they're going to try it. That's why it's so important for people like yourself, Stephen. Like you got a cell phone. Get out there, record. People, you got a cell phone right beside you. Everybody has one. If you see something, start recording it. The mainstream media cannot be relied upon anymore. They've been caught lying to the people on several occasions. So
that's right. And thanks to you and Druthers. I mean, everyone should view Druthers. They've been out there. Grant's been out there. I mean, it's been at least 2.5, 3 years for sure that I've seen you at all the different events, following speakers and getting interviews and just trying to get the information out there so people can be a little more aware and proactive, and we can gain our freedoms back.
Exactly. So, like, for instance, Trudeau was down there. You would think somebody from the mainstream media would be there to cover it. There is nobody.
No, I mean, that's they can just edit in the clips and say the words they want to say. They don't need to show optics that people don't like.
No one even showed up. People were beaten and arrested on the street, and there's no mainstream media in sight. So there's a shape of the mainstream media here in Canada. They're only going to show you what they want to show you.
Well, absolutely. And speaking of mainstream media and what they showed last thing before we go, what did you think if you saw Dr. Tam's health department announcement there? Was it yesterday, the day before, regarding the new variant vaccine that they have available for all of us soon, 6 months and up, 1 shot, 5 years old, 2 shots?
Well, I think a lot of the freedom fighters are, it's not going to fool anybody. Some of these people who are, who have been vaccinated, it's not going to fool a lot of them either, because I've talked to a lot of people, and a lot of people have been vaccine injured, one way or the other. They've been hurt, and they're looking at the culprit, and they believe it's the vaccine. So this time around, I don't think they're going to get as many people lining up for shots, but they're still going to try, and they're still going to get some of the people in there and who are believing the hype, who are willing to roll up their sleeve and put God knows what inside of them without asking any sort of questions. So we're still going to get these people, and it's unfortunate, but it's going to happen.
It is, but loving people and decent people will, like you, myself, and others, lots of other people, will provide NOLs again.
Exactly, and we'll try to get the word out as best as we can. And we're not going to stop.
No, and when they do this again, for people that got their jobs back or against their own better judgment, got a job that will demand, because again, I think it'll be a corporate demand first before a federal or a government mandate. I believe they might mandate their own workers, which will trigger the corporations to virtue signal for their subsidies to do the right thing, and they'll have compliers down the line of employment. But there are people out there, guys, if you don't remember, there are people out there. You can get a hold of me. I don't know about getting a hold of Grant, but you can definitely get a hold of me, and I can get notice of liability forms that you can fill out and you can put down, again, nicely on your boss's desk and serve them notice of liabilities, because the things they did and the things they're about to do were and are illegal. The only thing that makes it tangible into fruition is your compliance, right? It's like when you get a ticket, one of these tickets, like you've got, I'm sure I've gotten many of those tickets a couple years ago.
Yes.
the only people that I know of that paid these fines that were found guilty of the lower ones, attending gatherings and things like that. The only ones that are guilty are the ones that just paid and pled guilty. Again, I'm talking about the lower fines, not the church.
For sure, some people didn't want to fight it. Some people just wanted to pay.
Right.
They just wanted the headache gone.
Right. But that brings it into tangibility. It didn't exist. It wouldn't exist without our compliance. Paying
That's right.
an illegal fine is compliance.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah. So don't comply. But if you did, or if you do, there's still forgiveness on this side. That's the beauty about the side that you might hate. If you're on the other side, is there's much more forgiveness and love on our side than the side you're currently on.
Exactly. They did a study. This study was pretty funny, though. I was reading it. But it came out that the vaccinated people, they really, they have a thing. They don't like the unvaccinated. Now, the vaccinated people that they surveyed, they had nothing against any of the vaccinated people. So, like, this goes to show you, like, it just makes me scratch my head and say, wow, we love you guys. We don't care if you're vaccinated or not. Listen, we're still here for you. You're Canadians. We got your backs. So
exactly, we're the ones that are going to be
all we're
here
trying to
either
do
way.
all we're trying to do is share information and make people think.
Amen to that. Is there anything else you'd like to impart with or share with us before we head our separate ways?
Well, I hope Trudeau is watching. That's about it. And hopefully we see everybody out on the 20th, either Windsor, Toronto, London, or Ottawa.
Yeah,
So,
go live if you're in a town, a small town,
exactly.
a big town.
Go live. No one's going live there. Go live, people.
Yeah.
I mean, the world has to see this. Let's flood Facebook with lives.
That's right. It doesn't matter if they get it from me, from Grant. All that matters, from my opinion, is as long as it gets out there for more people to see, so we can have our country back, so we can have our freedom back, and 100%. Then some.
100%.
All right, Grant. Well, thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you, Steve, for having me, and we'll have to do this again sometime soon. Hopefully, we have better news to report. So
there's always going to be something. So unfortunately, it'd be nice to say, wow, there's nothing to talk about but the basketball game that I don't watch anymore.
That's right.
All right. Well, until then, thank you again for being on the Truth Trumpet, and everybody go to Druthers and check out Grant's work. It's pretty amazing.
Thank you. Take care, everybody.
All right, everybody, that was Grant Pace with Druthers News, and just going over what he saw at the protest in London, where Trudeau, I wouldn't say donned his face, but he was in London for whatever reason. I'm sure trying to get money, get support from who knows. Nobody saw him. He ducked out and went to another hotel. Anyway, there are so many other topics. We'll get to that maybe tomorrow. We have many more guests coming up, many more great guests coming up. Stay tuned, especially on the 20th. We'll be going live approximately 9 a.m. down at Dieppe Gardens, Windsor, Ontario. Again, September 20th for the 1 Million Children March. Please pull your children or don't bring them to school on September 20th. Send this message and it will be heard. As usual, thank you for tuning in. You are loved.